Welcome to a class in corporate finance. This is one course that entitles you to be called financial managers. To start with, we're going to look at the role that financial managers have with regards to decisions that they make. So a financial manager should have the following attribute to make the following decisions. So we have what are called investment decisions. These are decisions that have to do with what investment the company must make. As a financial manager, you need to understand what is called investment appraisal. So investment decisions emanate from that stream. So we'll be looking at capital budgeting later on, and you will need to make a decision as to whether a project is viable or not. Also, we're going to look at what are called financing decisions. We realize that the company is financed by debt. It's also financed by cloud back capital. So for you to make a good financial manager, you need to understand different sources of finance. Some of the sources of finance that financial managers make are outrageous. So you realize that we have kinds of parties in a company: shareholder and the manager. These always live in antagonism. Financial manager would want to plow back capital, realizing that retained earnings are the only source of finance that do not accrue any interest. So when we're talking about financing decisions, we are looking at literally the sources of finance, short term or long term. We also have dividend decisions. When we're talking about dividend decisions, we're basically looking at the dividend policy that the firm can adopt. Now, these policies describe when and how much of the profits are distributed as dividends, including the mode of payment. So these are the three key decisions that you as a financial manager should be able to make. Later on, we must understand that there are three main forms of businesses. We have what we call a sole trader. This is a one-man business who assumes all the profit, an inexpensive kind of business where capital is so easy to raise. These do not pay huge taxes. The only limitations mainly are that it's a limited, it has unlimited liability, meaning the debt of an individual, their own personal capacity may be touched in a case of a liability. And the disadvantage that sole proprietorship has is that to access loan capital is so elusive and so dependent on a few individuals and family members. As well, the life of this kind of business structure is limited to the life of the individual who created it. Graduate into a partnership which has two or more associates that would merge to form a business. These two have unlimited liability. They also are difficult in raising finance because these capital investments that each individual puts that they use to circulate. Of course, there's a larger pool of finance and expertise because they are partnerships that have big boys, we call them. They come together, their resources together. And we have what are called corporations or companies, which are under law created, where we distinguish the owners and the managers of the business. And here we see that these have unlimited life and unlimited liability. The ownership of an individual who is the owner of a business is distinctive from the actual company itself. So we have a separate legal entity. This kind of business transfers ownership by sale of shares. So we're going to look later on at types of shares that we have. We have equity shareholders or ordinary shareholders, preferential shareholders. Also, are going to look at the kind of valuation that is attached to these kind of owners of businesses. So this introduction really spreads into topics individually, where we're going to look at these and the evaluation techniques. Okay, so we now graduate into markets. We're going to look at what we call primary markets and secondary markets. When we're dealing with the stock markets, the markets that deal with newly introduced securities. Securities are simply a package of assets in terms of stock or bonds that are sold for the first time using an IPO. So we usually use the primary market to sell such securities. Where securities are sold in an already existing market is a core secondary market. So you'd be asked to differentiate what primary and secondary markets are. We also have what are called capital and money market. For short-term debt securities, we use what are called money markets. Long-term debt securities, we use what we call capital markets. And examples of capital markets are the stock exchange. In Zambia, we have the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Also, for calculations, we're going to look at what are called spot market and futures market. When we're dealing with spot markets, we're referring to buying and selling of assets on the spot at their spot prices, whereas futures markets, we're looking at the markets where assets bought and sold for a delivery a future date. So this is usually done to avoid inflation of prices. So you make futures purchase now, you agree for the price in case of any fluctuation. My concern today is of this topic, which is called time value of money. Time value of money. Question: would you rather have 1,000 kwacha today or 1,000 kwacha tomorrow? And reasons why? Would you rather have 1,000 kwacha today, 1,000 kwacha tomorrow? Nancy?
I think I would rather have it today.
Okay, why?
I think I don't know how I can explain it, but in terms of maybe what I would want to do with it today, or what I would rather buy in that 1,000 today.
Or maybe let me put it as follows. Would you rather get 1,000 kwacha today or 1,200 kwacha next year? I like your reasoning. Yes, Nat, would you rather get 1,000 kwacha today or 1,000 kwacha tomorrow?
I think I would still go with the one for today.
Today, why?
1,000 kwacha. Because like money, its value reduces. Like what I could get in a 1,000 today might actually be more than what I could afford in a 1,200.
Say time is money. Exactly what you've mentioned, the concept behind the time value of money. So by the time we're done with this segment, we should be able to understand what is meant by time value of money, and the difference between present and future value. Also, we'll discuss how interest rates can be used to adjust cash flows, expecting 1,000 kwacha today or 1,000 kwacha tomorrow. We've mentioned a key point to do with inflation rate, or the value of money tomorrow might not be the same as today. We'll delve into what are called annuities. So we're going to look at ordinary annuities and annuities due. And we're going to calculate using the formulas and also using the tables, which are called the interest factor tables. And finally, we'll learn how to build what is called an amortization schedule. So why is time value of money important? Time value of money is very important because it can earn more over time. Also, time can lose, money can lose value over time. We call that inflation. And if it earns money, we call that earning power. Time is money, and it is realized in this topic to look at how we calculate time in terms of money. We're also going to look at interest, which is a cost, also an earning, the lender, and the cost to the borrower. So time value of money basically has to do with trying to determine the value of cash flows that are expected in the future. It is therefore very important to know the value of a kwacha today is worth a quarter to receive tomorrow. This is due to the element of what? Interest. The element of interest. So we're going to look at two types of interest. We're going to look at what is called simple interest and what is called compound interest. Simple interest and what is called compound interest. So simple interest and compound interest are differentiated by a simple algorithm that I'm going to give you. So let's start with simple interest. So if you have 1,000 kwacha day, it ends what is simple interest per year. This simply means 1,000 kwacha earning 10% per year, meaning in year one, we're going to get 100 kwacha on top. So we're going to put 1,100. The same amount, year two, we're going to add 100 kwacha to get 1,200. In year three, we're going to add the same 100 kwacha to get 1,300. This is how simple interest operates. It's the same interest based on the initial amount that you put in. However, compound interest, amount of the 10% rate is based on preceding value. So if we're going to start with 1,000 kwacha, in year one, right or right, we're going to get 1,100. In year two, we're going to do 10% of this 1,100. We're going to get 110. 110 is what we add to this figure. So we get, what are we going to get? We add 110, 1 to 10. So again, we get 10% of this figure here, which is 121. When we add this here, what do we get? 1,331. So you see that compound interest at the end of the third year will be different. Compound interest is increasing, whereas simple interest is constantly increasing. So here we have an addition of 31 kwacha, which is more on compound interest. So we're going to now look at the methods that we're going to use in evaluating this. So how do we calculate simple interest? Simple interest is simply given by the principal times the time times the interest rate. Call that PTR. So how much will 1,000 kwacha grow after 3 years? The simple interest of 10%. So the interest rate is 10%. The time is what? 3 years. And the principal, or the amount we started with, is what? 1,000. So using this formula, we just substitute. So we're going to have on the principal 1,000 times the time is 3 years. Time is usually measured in years. Otherwise, we need to compute it in terms of years. The interest rate is 10%. Decimal 0.10. When you multiply, you're going to get 1,300. Or we're going to get 300, in fact. So meaning this is our simple interest. Now, if we're going to go to compound interest simply the future value minus the present value. So we need to calculate the future value first. The formula for the future value is given by present value 1 plus R per time. So our principal or our present value 1,000. 1 plus the rate is what? 10%, which is 0.10. The time is power 3. So here we're going to get 1,000. Here we're going to get 1.1 to the power 3 is 1.3. What is 1.1 to the power 3? 1.331. When we multiply it, we're going to get 1,331. So difference between how much we had and how much we have is called your compound interest. So 1,331 minus 1,000 kwacha. The difference is called your compound interest, which will give you 331 kwacha. So you see, under compound interest, we have more by 31 kwacha. Under simple interest, we have 300 kwacha. So we are learning how to compute the compound interest and the simple interest. I must also make mention to say that when we are dealing with compounding, there are two things that usually happen. The compound is to add interest. So if we have interest which is compounded annually, you're earning interest how many times? Once. If we have interest which is compounded semi-annually, earning interest how many times? Twice. 4 times is quarterly. 12 times is monthly. 52 times weekly. 365 times is daily. Continuously, we use what we call present value e to the power RT, meaning is on a continuous basis. Now, how does this help us really compute simple interest? We're going to the same information we're given. Suppose we had a 1,000 kwacha and our interest rate was 10%. We were told that it takes 6 months for the deposit to stay in bank. So to find the simple interest, it is PTR. Our principal is 1,000. Our time is 6 months, but we're not going to say 6. 6 out of how many months are there? 12.
Well,
So you're asking us in terms of days, we're going to divide it over 365. We're going to tell us in terms of weeks, we're going to say what? 52. Right? Then the interest rate is what? 10%. 0.10. All together. If you want, you can use fractions as long as you don't make a mistake over 100. This cancel with 2 zeros there. This will cancel with 2 and there is 5. 5 times 10, 50. So the interest is what? 50 quarter. Now, suppose you are told that you have the present value, the same, which is 1,000. At the same interest rate is 10% for 3 years. But we're getting interest semi-annually. Semi-annually means you're getting interest twice a year. We use a general formula, which is the future value is equal to what? Present value 1 plus R over M. M times T. So whenever you're compounding, M is a number of compoundings. So the rate is always divided by what? Number of compoundings. The time is always multiplied by the number of compoundings. Our present value is 1,000. Our 1 there. Our interest rate is what? 10%. So 0.10. Semi-annually means how many times are you compounding? Yes. And these 2 here will multiply by the number of years. All right? Meaning here we're going to have 1,000. And here 105. Power 6. Then you get your answer there. One thing you must note is that the more we compound, the higher the figure. All right? When you compound, higher the figure. So what are you getting there?
is it 1,340?
1,340. Correct. Suppose same parameters, we have 1,000 as a principal, 3 years as a time, 10%, but compounded quarterly. Also compounded annually. Also compounded continuously. What formulas do we use? Yes. Quarterly, we're going to say future value is equal to what? Present value.
Brackets.
Mhm,
1 plus R
mhm,
over M,
mhm.
M times T,
So what's our present value?
1000.
Okay. What is our rate?
It's 10%.
What is our M?
0.2. 3 to the power 3 times
Our R is what? Totally means how many times?
oh, it's 4
We multiply the 4 times how many years?
times 3.
Yes. All right. So here we're going to have what? 1000. And here we're going to have 1 plus 0 point what?
0.025
0.025 to the power what? 12. Yes. Now what are we going to have? Okay. For annually, we still use a general formula or general formula 1 over R over M to power MT. So here we have 1000. 1, our rate 10%. Annually means how many times? How many times are we earning? 1. So it still remains the same, 1 times 3. So you're going to have 1000. Then you have 1.1 to the power 3. So here we're going to get 1331 is our future value. Then for continuous, who remembers the formula? Continuous, we're going to have present value e to the power RP. So 1000 is found on a calculator. Interest rate is 10%. The time is 3 years. Times 3. So this is 1000 e to the power 0.3. Do you know where the e is on the calculator?
Yes, I know.
All right. So what figure are you getting? So the e is this one. 1000 we first start with e to the power 0.3. You compute, what are you getting? So ideally, the more you compound, higher the what? Higher the figure. So when you do e to the power 0.3, we get 1.349 times 1000, you get 1349.5 0.86. All right. So this is how we calculate the future value. However, sometimes you ask us to find the time. The question will come to say, well, how long does 1,000 kwacha get to double? Say to double, it will be 2,000. When you say to triple, it is 3,000. Or sometimes you put a figure, how long does 1,000 kwacha grow to 5,000 at an interest rate of 8%, compounded annually? So we use the annual formula. Future value is equal to present value 1 plus R, the power time. So what I put in the future value, big figure, 5,000. What are putting on the present value?
1,000.
1,000. Then the interest rate is what?
It's 8%.
So here, you divide what we get here, 5, and here we get what? 1.08 to power time. The only way to find this t is when you introduce log. Just put a log here and a log here. So meaning we're going to have what? Log 5 is equal to t times log what? 1.08. So we divide both sides by log 1.08. You can go and calculate and punch log 5 divided by log 1.08. Log 5 divided by log 1.08. How do you get? 20.91 years.
Two.
You found that?
Yes, that's what I'm getting.
Yes.
So what did we do? We put 5,000, 5,000, we divide 1,000, remain with a 5 inside, we remain with a 1.08 to the power t. The only way to get rid of this t, you put a log on both sides, and this t will fall in front of this log, so that we have, divide both sides by what? Log 1.05. OG and log, it's just the same thing, don't get confused. 1.05. So when you divide this side, this divides and they get 20 years. So it gets 20 years for this to grow to 5,000. Lastly, sometimes the examiner will ask you for the rate. How long or at what rate will 1,000 kwacha double to 2,000? How long will 1,000 kwacha grow to 2,000? At what rate will 1,000 kwacha grow to 2,000 in 5 years, if compounded annually? So use the same. Future value is equal to what? Present value 1 plus r to the power.
Okay.
So here future value is what? 2,000. Present value is what? 1,000. The rate we don't know. But the time is what? 5 years. And it's 5 years. So we divide both sides by 1,000. Here 1,000. So I'm going to have it to this side to the power 1. We're going to have 1 plus r to the power what? 5. One I put there is just a dummy, like it's there. So to get rid of this 5 there, you just reciprocate it, multiply it by this. So times 1 over 5 times 1 over 5. There was 4 there, times 1 over 4, 1 over 4, just to get rid of this here. So 1 over 5 is same as 0.2. So you're going to have 2 to the power 0.2. This is the only way these brackets will come out on the other side. 1 plus r. So when the r goes this side, you subtract. So 2 to the power 0.2 is 1.148. So meaning to find our r, be 1.1486 minus 1. So this gives us our r as 14.8%. So this is our first part, that's on simple interest and future interest, the future value simple compound interest and simple interest. All right, so I'll record this and send it to you. Let me send you another link start with annuities. Are there any questions?
It's clear.